Everyone, my name is Jennifer Hernandez. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist, a PhD student in curriculum and instruction, a wife, mom, and the founder of Nutrition Collaborative. And in this video, I want to share with you what a nutritionist can do for you. So first of all, let's talk about what is a nutritionist. A nutritionist is an expert in food and nutrition and the use of food to nourish the body and promote health. Unfortunately, the term nutritionist is not always clearly defined, and it's not only used by people who are truly experts in the field. Now, you may be wondering, what is a dietitian versus a nutritionist? And some people feel like dietitians are people who just put people on diets. As I worked as a clinical dietitian in multiple hospitals, and people always thought that I was the one cooking their food. Registered dietitians are people who have done a very specific accredited dietetics degree that incorporates science, biochemistry, nutrition, food science, food service management, health promotion, disease prevention, and how we can use nutrients and supplements to promote health and decrease the bad effects of diseases. After that accredited degree, or sometimes as part of that accredited degree, people who have become registered dietitians do a supervised practice experience that ranges from 1,000 to 1,200 hours, sometimes even more, where they're working with other dietitians and food and nutrition professionals. They have to take an exam, and then they become registered dietitians. Now, if someone is a nutritionist, this can mean a variety of things. Certified nutrition specialists have a similar pathway as dietitians. They have a master's degree, either in nutrition or in a health-related field with coursework in nutrition. And then they complete a 1,000-hour practical experience with a nutrition expert. They also have to take an exam. So like I said, the two are pretty similar. However, other people call themselves nutritionists that maybe did an online not degree program, right? An online, basically correspondence course. And some people just call themselves nutritionists because they have an interest in nutrition. Whether or not that's legal actually depends on the state that they are in. Some states have protected the title of nutritionist, and if you aren't a registered dietitian or a certified nutrition specialist, you actually can't legally call yourself a nutritionist. Other states protected the title of dietitian, but not nutritionist. And well, there's still a couple of states that didn't protect either one. So if someone is out there promoting themselves as a nutritionist, I want to strongly encourage you to ask them about their background and training and what makes them qualified to call themselves a nutritionist and to provide nutrition information to you. So what do nutritionists do? And here I'm using the term nutritionist to refer to dietitians and those certified nutrition specialists, not just the person who did a 6-week online course. So nutritionists will often work in hospitals where they work with patients who have just had like a heart attack or a surgery or newly diagnosed with diabetes. And they help to educate on those conditions and how food and nutrition play a role. They can work in outpatient settings where people aren't acutely ill, right? Maybe you didn't just have your heart attack, maybe it's been a little while, maybe you were diagnosed with diabetes a while ago, and now you need some fine tuning. They can also work with fairly healthy people who just want to make sure that the things that they are doing are promoting and supporting health. So why is nutrition important? Well, because we eat every day, and the foods that we eat can impact our health in so many different ways. If you have been to my website, you can see the wheel on my website where I talk about dimensions of health. And health isn't just physical. but it is a big component of it. And nutrition can play a part in a lot of those dimensions of health. So physical health. Physical health, nutrition fuels our physical activity. If we're not eating enough, we're not going to have the energy or the nutrients that we need to allow ourselves to do physical activity. But even more than just the physical activity component, I've already talked about heart disease, diabetes, GI health, and we're going to talk about how nutrition plays a role in each of those. Now, mental or emotional health is one of those dimensions of health on my website. And there is research showing that some of the foods that we eat and nutrients that we consume can have an impact on mental health. Now, it's not a highly developed area of nutrition because the science of nutrition is still a baby science. It's about 150 years old, and we don't know everything that we should. But this is definitely an emerging area where we can help fine-tune how people are eating to help with mental health. Now, that's not to say that we can fix, psychoses and mental diagnoses just with food, but we may be able to improve certain things by the foods that we eat or avoid. Social health is another aspect of the dimensions of health. And this is one that people probably don't typically think of when we talk about nutrition. But think about how social our eating habits are, right? When you have a party or a gathering, is there food there? Have you ever been to one and there wasn't food? It seems a little awkward, right? When you have a party, where does everyone gather? They all gather around the food. They all gather in the kitchen. Now, the foods that we eat can impact our social relationships, and our social relationships can impact the foods that we eat. Think about the people that you spend the most time with and how your eating habits compare to theirs. You probably eat fairly similar foods. If you have a specific idea about eating, that may impact who you eat with, right? If you are a vegan, you're probably not going to spend a whole lot of time around people that eat a lot of meat, and vice versa. Now, we talked about physical health. I probably should have rearranged these, but now we're going to get into some of those specifics about how nutrition can impact a variety of health issues. And the first one we're going to start with is food allergies. Now, honestly, this is kind of a controversial topic in the world of registered dietitians. There's a segment of dietitians that really only recognize the big 8 food allergens, right? Like wheat, soy, eggs, milk, fish, shellfish, tree nuts. And there's a whole nother segment of dietitians that realize that food allergies and food sensitivities may be a bigger issue than what they've historically been given attention. So when we talk about food allergies, a true food allergy is one that causes an immediate reaction, right? So we get that anaphylaxis. When you think about that person with the peanut allergy and they've got the EpiPen, those are food allergies. Food sensitivities are a much broader and nebulous area. And food sensitivities can be things like lactose intolerance. So when people drink milk and their body can't digest it and they get all bloated and gassy. But food sensitivities can be other things like skin reactions, migraine headaches. It can also be GI disorders like irritable bowel that come with eating certain food components that the body reacts adversely to. I have done some training in this area, and it was actually my own personal journey. I've had migraines my entire life, pretty much anyway. I can't remember a time without migraines. I'm assuming they started when I was a teenager, but I don't know for sure. And so I was directed by another dietitian in the functional nutrition space who led me to learn more about food sensitivities. And by tweaking the foods that I eat and the foods that I avoid, I've been able to manage, not completely eliminate, but manage my migraines. So digestive disorders, this can be anything from reflux, right, heartburn, to irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, constipation, diarrhea. There are all sorts of digestive disorders, and a lot of them can be managed or improved by, again, the foods we eat and the foods we avoid. Now, what those foods are, some people like to give just this list of these are the exact foods that you need to avoid. It really seems to be more individualized than just that list. And so I highly recommend working with somebody who's experienced in GI disorders to help you to identify what foods might be triggering your digestive issues. Weight management, this one is actually not a favorite of mine. Diets are hard, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're watching this, you've probably tried a diet. I grew up in the 80s, and my mom did like every diet that came along. I'm gonna definitely date myself with talking about some of those diets because a lot of them don't even exist anymore, but a lot of them just recycle with new names. And so whether it's, assigning values to foods and then you can only eat certain amounts of each type of food, or whether it is cutting out entire, food groups or nutrient groups, like no carb or no fat. We never cut out protein, apparently, but it's always carbs and fats that get the bad rap, right? All of that has to do with the types of foods we're eating and the quantities of foods that we're eating. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of, weight loss diets. I would much rather work with you on other health issues like your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol that we might be able to improve without that focus on the pounds on the scale. Now, speaking of blood sugar, diabetes, pre-diabetes, these are things that have to do with how our body takes the carbohydrates that we eat and utilizes it. Ideally, those carbohydrates come into our bloodstream and then our body cells pick them up. But when we have diabetes or pre-diabetes, those cells are not taking in the glucose as well. Now, how we attack that actually varies a little bit depending on which type of diabetes we're talking about, whether that's type 1, type 2, gestational diabetes. They're all a little bit different, but the underlying thing is the body is not using glucose or sugar properly. And a dietitian or a nutritionist can help you to look at what you're eating, how you're eating, and how we might be able to improve your blood sugar. Now, heart health relates to our cholesterol levels, and sometimes this relates to the types of fat and the amount of fat we're eating, and sometimes it has to do with physical activity, and sometimes it's genetics. But a dietitian or nutritionist can work with you on, again, looking at the foods you're eating and how we can tweak them, improve them to promote heart health. There are also some supplements out there that can help promote heart health, and we can work with you on, are those supplements going to be beneficial for you? Blood pressure relates to heart health. For some people, sodium or salt can impact blood pressure, but not for everyone. And a diet that's high in fruits and vegetables and low in processed foods can really help promote a healthy blood pressure. And again, a dietitian or nutritionist can work with you on those tweaks to improve your blood pressure. All right, so the quick and dirty generic nutrition recommendations are to eat more fruits and vegetables, to watch the types of fat and the amounts of fat that we're eating, to stay away from refined foods like refined grains and eat more whole grains. That's really generic information that's good for like the population at large. But honestly, if you are dealing with any of the issues that we addressed in this video, I would encourage you to find a dietitian, find a certified nutrition specialist, a well-trained nutritionist to work with you on those issues. So if you don't have one, if you need somebody to work with you, to encourage and guide you, provide you some education, some coaching, some counseling, I would love to work with you. I have an online health coaching program. It starts with setting goals. So I would love for you to check out that program and be your accountability partner as you work towards improving your health. The other thing that I'm going to do is webinars on a variety of health topics. So I will talk about heart health, brain health, gut health. And so I would love for you to tune into those webinars if you're not ready to commit to that free online health coaching program focused on your health goals. So thank you for tuning in and watching this video today.